What's going on, everyone? Thank you for joining us for another edition of the Bleed Lows podcast. Dodger Fest kicked off the season. There are big updates on the WBC, and baseball games will be played this month. All that and more coming up next. Welcome back, and thank you for joining us. Anthony and I are your co-hosts tonight, and producer Roger is behind the scenes. Before we get into it all, we're going to tell you about DodgersBeat.com. Stay up to date and in the know with all of the latest and most comprehensive coverage of the LA Dodgers. It is your one stop for articles, interviews, contests, merch, and more. Never miss a beat, and check out DodgersBeat.com. Oh my God, Anthony, it is February. We made it. How are you?
I'm doing good. I'm excited. Happy to be here. I got to watch some baseball this weekend. The Caribbean series. If any other sickos are watching that with me, it's kind of a nice little like teaser because I know there's major league games coming up. I know it's spring training and we say it's pretend, but I'm just happy that baseball is right around the corner. You can smell the fresh grass, the cleats kind of hitting the cement as the players are walking onto the field. You can just like picture that basically. That's what I'm picturing right now.
And we got to see that this past weekend. We'll talk all about it, but I just want to start off by some really amazing news for the Bleed Loss podcast and Dodgers Beat and producer Roger and all of us here on the team. We just celebrated getting to 25,000 subs. So it was such an exciting little post that we noticed from Raj, and just very excited to be a part of this team. It's exciting, right, Anthony?
It is. I think we're coming up, at least on me, my 1 year on the pod. I don't remember specifically the date. I know it's kind of around this area, but yeah, it's kind of been like a rush. I love all the shows we have. I love Cody and Vincent's show. I'm a big
Yeah.
fan of the Bleat Lows, the Japanese version. I kind of have dreams of going back to Japan every so often. Every so often, I get a reminder of like on my phone and my camera roll, like pictures and stuff like that. I'm like, damn, I kind of want to go back out there again. So I'm brushing up on my Japanese every so often when Koei drops a new episode. But yeah, it's kind of exciting to see like how far we've come, and I'm excited to see what we can do as the season goes on.
I'm excited too. Yes. And shout out to Kohei over in Japan, always keeping us informed on the Japanese and on bleed lows. And for all the team members who came before you and I, Anthony, they're part of this too. I think producer Raj called it a team effort, and it
Yeah.
truly is. So Cody, Vince, shout out to you, Steve Webb, doing all the articles day in and day out. And just thank you to all the people who are watching, because without you, we wouldn't have a show to film and, have the people to talk to and interact with, and just really just do what we love every single day. So thank you for all of that. But yeah, I just want to get into one key thing on the rundown that I leapfrogged up to the top because it is a red alert. Ben Rortvedt's available, Anthony, and
Yeah.
kind of news. One of my favorite players, and it has absolutely nothing to do with that video that was viral of him working out in the bullpen at all. But does Andrew Freeman need to act? Please say yes.
I don't know, honestly. I did see that news today, and immediately the first person I thought of was you. And then the second thought I had was like, does he fit? I'm kind of hoping they give him a call, but I also have a feeling he's with the Reds now, right? I kind of feeling it's kind of just a procedural thing where like he's going to be part of their minor league team and he's going to be joining their big league camp, hopefully. So I don't know. I think the next time we do see Ben Rodvet is kind of be when he's going to be receiving his World Series ring, hopefully in front of a sold out crowd whenever the Reds do visit, or if he ends up on a different team, whatever team that is. But I don't think he's going to be wearing Dodger blue, unfortunately.
Okay, well, one can dream, but yeah, I was so fond of him last season. I didn't think I was going to like him as much as I did. Got a chance to meet him. Great guy. So wherever he does end up, wish him absolutely nothing but the best. He's an incredible catcher. Wouldn't mind seeing him in Dodger blue though. But yeah, let's talk Dodger Fest. That is so exciting to see fans again at the stadium, to see the players, and to kind of just feel the vibes in the air. But yeah, you likely watched it on probably, I'm guessing, Spectrum Sportsnet, probably saw the interview. So I definitely want to know what stood out to you. But yeah, I was just so impressed. It was a very hot day. I was impressed with, just some of the player interviews and kind of their updates, and just the overall just common theme of we're going for the three-peat. I don't know, what were your takeaways from watching it?
Yeah, so I was watching on Spectrum, and then every so often, new videos would drop on the YouTube. So I kind of was like switching back and forth, and as well too, like on on Twitter or Instagram, people would be posting stuff. People that I know as well too were at Dodger Fest, kind of like sending me content and stuff like that. So it's kind of awesome to kind of like let's get right back into it. It's kind of it feels like it's been a long off season. It doesn't just because like we haven't had that much news to like talk about. It feels like we've been talking about hypotheticals and stuff like that, and now we finally have the guys back in their Dodger gear, kind of talking to addressing the crowd. The last time we saw most of these guys, they were probably hungover from the parade. So it's kind of nice to kind of see them in a nice clean state. And my favorite part of Dodger Fest and spring training is player cliches like I'm in
Yeah.
the best shape of my life. I've lost 10 pounds. I've gained 20 pounds of muscle, stuff like that. It's always exciting to kind of hear the guys kind of like tell those like little I don't know if they're little lies, but like we kind of hear the same thing from all sorts of people every year. It's not necessarily the guys who said it this year, but it's just a common thing. Like it's not even the Dodgers themselves specifically. You hear it all throughout the league, like, oh, this guy came in, he looks like in the best shape of his life. He looks like he's gonna make big steps this season, stuff like that. So I don't know. It was kind of an exciting time. We got a lot of information from a bunch of guys that I was really interested in hearing, and a lot of clarification of like, yeah, these guys are kind of their main focus is three-peat. That's what they have, and we haven't even like picked up a baseball and like had a bullpen yet. It was just kind of just like a show for the fans, and their mindset's already like, no, let's go for it. Let's go for the three-peat.
I mean, they seem like they're all unified in that theme. They're talking about it. Yeah, Dave Roberts, I guess he said that he lost some weight too. So they're all like, gearing up, getting in shape for the 162. It is a grind, and they have been through their bodies have been through a lot the last couple of years. Couple things and observations I had. I got to see the trophies for the first time up close. I've seen replicas everywhere, but it is a little different when you see the actual trophies. They're beautiful, slightly bigger in scale than I thought they would be compared to other things that I had seen. But yeah, I wouldn't mind adding a third and taking another photo with them all around me. That would be amazing. But I know this is going to sound cliche, but the most impressive thing that I saw there, and I have seen him before, but this was bigger, Shohei Ohtani. And I was thinking of all the things all the times I've heard people screaming, and he's nearby. I even saw producer Raj in the bullpen when Shohei was doing his scrum. Just the sheer amount of attention this man gets is second to none. He did sign some autographs for people that were nearby the Spectrum canopy. And just it's almost looks like a Michael Jackson concert. I don't know if you kind of grew up watching Michael Jackson, and just people that are just so overwhelmed. Like you see it in their faces when he's nearby. And it made me think of a question that then came up on Foul Territory, and I'll kind of just pose it to you because I thought it was such an interesting question that Jim Rose and Trevor Plouffe had asked. They were trying to kind of wrap their head around the celebrity that is Shohei. And I mean, unless you've kind of been around it, you kind of see him, and even at other stadiums, you see people bringing out their cameras. Fans of other teams just cannot seem to like he's just an experience just to be in his presence. And the question was, is Shohei Ohtani the most important player in any league in North American team sports? I mean, people turn on their TVs to watch Shohei, regardless of whether they're fans of MLB or not. Globally, we know that that's true. Can we even think of another celebrity or another athlete that has that sort of pull and that sort of reach that Shohei Ohtani has? What do you think?
Man, I mean, for this current generation, throughout all sports, probably him. Yeah, there's kind of like athletes that transcend both the diamond or field or wherever they play and kind of make that leap into the modern era as well too, just normal people and stuff like that. I think of Michael Jordan. A lot of people like my first this is going to age myself. I don't remember Mike playing basketball. The first memories I have of Mike are the shoes cuz I'm a shoe guy. I
Yeah.
grew up wanting the Jordans. I didn't I wasn't well, my uncle thankfully did bless me with some Jordans when I was younger, but that's how I knew Michael Jordan. I didn't know who the basketball player was. I didn't because my guy was Kobe. And it wasn't until I got older and like I got to like maybe 8, 9, 10 years old when you start learning about like the history of basketball and stuff like that. And you start getting introduced to guys like Michael Jordan and stuff like that. And you realize, wow, this guy's just more than a shoe. He had like a life and a career before that. And you can argue he's probably the best basketball player of all time. So I think of him. I kind of think of Man, I think of Muhammad Ali. Muhammad Ali kind of transcended both his political activism and stuff like that, his boxing career as well too, and he kind of like was a role model for a bunch of my kind of heroes growing up. A lot of guys kind of looked up to him like that's the standard of what a pro athlete should be. He's not afraid to speak his mind and certain issues and stuff like that. And then when he gets into the ring, he's basically the best there ever is, the best there ever was, essentially. So I think of those two guys, and then like in soccer as well too. There's kind of guys that transcend the sport as well too. I think of a Messi, I think of a Ronaldo, I think of a Pele. Just like the impact, just because those guys were, I don't want to say the odds were against them, but they kind of were. Like Pele was playing in Brazil, and he kind of made his name growing and growing and growing. Messi was essentially founded by some scouts in Barcelona, or not in Barcelona, in Argentina, got sent to Barcelona, and like the odds were against him. He had some growth disease against him, so he wasn't really going to develop to the player he was, and he finally became who he was. And it's just like a lot of guys, but for the modern era, I think Shohei is that guy. I told you when I've said this before. When I went to Japan, he was everywhere. I
Yeah.
couldn't turn like my eyes like to a billboard or to like a random like advertisement that he had in the store or something. He's just basically everywhere. So I kind of feel like he's that guy. The only part where he kind of doesn't like reach that level yet is because he's like, I don't want to say he's very quiet, but he doesn't really speak as much. He speaks during the season, but during the off season, he doesn't really. He kind of keeps to himself. He's kind of more reserved, stuff like
Mhm.
that. So we'll see if like the years go on and stuff like that. Maybe when he's done playing, because he's so focused on like win now, win now, win now. I want to win is win and win and win. And maybe when he's done playing, that's when like you'll see who the real Shohei Otani is. Like whether he goes into acting, whether I said I compared him to Shaq because he's kind of going to be that new marketing giant. Like you're going to want to have Shohei market whatever product you're selling as a company. I know for sure I would want to, just because I know the star power that he brings, and that it kind of opens up that foreign market for me as well in Japan as well too. So
Yeah.
maybe we're kind of just like in the early stages of him kind of exploding and being that global phenomenal icon that a lot of people, these athletes that I named before him, are.
It's extraordinary. Even I think his book even comes out, right? It was released, is that
Yeah,
today, right? Decoy Saves Opening Day. So you can get that wherever books are sold. He posted, you probably saw it. Isn't that adorable on his social media? I
yeah.
mean,
See, master marketer. The best way to sell your book is having your dog and your baby daughter reading the book together. Master marketer.
I literally felt my heart just like expand when I saw that photo. And Shohei knows what he is doing. And I believe all the proceeds go to charities that help animals find their forever home. So always doing good. I mean, he makes money, but he also gives back through his own foundation. So Shohei's doing good things, not just for the Dodgers, but every time the Dodgers go to other stadiums, you know that they're making money on the Japanese ad revenue that is posted behind the batters. So everyone's winning. It's win, win, win for everyone. And so, again, saving baseball. But another legend that we heard from, and I love every time I get to hear his interviews, is Freddie Freeman. He did some co interviews with Miguel Rojas because they did another luncheon together. I was able to attend it last year, did not attend that one this year, but I wrote down a couple key things that Freddie was talking about. You probably heard. Now, he's got 2 more years on his Dodger contract, right? And he kind of mentioned that he is thinking of going 4 years to hit that 20 mark. So, we could possibly talk of a Dodgers thinking of an extension for him because we probably want to see him and he probably wants to see himself, finish his career as a Dodger, hopefully. But a couple other key things. He is really he's close to he's 33 homers away from the 400 mark, and he is 69 hits away from 2,500. So we might see some really cool milestones from him in Dodger blue this season. So thoughts on having Freddie 2 or possibly even 4 more years?
Yeah. So when I first heard it, I saw it on the YouTube that we posted. There's a clip of him saying it, and I thought about it for a second. I'm like, does he really mean that, or is he kind of just amped up because he's in front of the home crowd and like he's getting hyped up? He sees all his teammates and stuff like that. My biggest concern with him is he's starting to break down a little bit, unfortunately. That freak kind of accident that he had against the Padres where he just sprained his ankle, I feel like that's kind of like it's been an ongoing kind of issue with him, and that's kind of my biggest fear is durability now at this point. But I don't think in like 4 years time I would be worried about Freddie Freeman going up there and producing a great at bat. I feel like Freddie Freeman's a natural hitter. If you asked him in like 20 years when he's like a grandfather, and like you asked him like, hey, can you go get me a decent at bat? I think he still would produce a decent at bat. So I think the bat will always be there. I think he was just blessed with that. He's kind of a freak when it comes to his mechanics as well too. You heard it when he was kind of going through his slump. He was going watching videos of him hitting that grand slam in the World Series, and he's like, "Oh, actually, I see something wrong here with my mechanics. Like, let me just adjust." And then he went back to being the
Yeah.
Freddie Freeman we know. So there's no doubt in my mind that he can like he'll be able to handle the bat for another 4 years, as he says. But the only question I have is durability. If we do extend them, that's the problem I have with is durability. But if we also have guys in the minor leagues who we feel might be ready to replace them, maybe we kind of slow play them into like the major league line. I'm like, okay, we re-signed Freddie for 2 more years, but I'm going to use him for example. Josue De Paula, it kind of can play first base, and we're like, okay, Freddie, we love you, but like we want to save you, so we're going to kind of like give him a bulk of the games, and we're not going to kind of just like ease you into like kind of like the later stages of your career. We don't want to have you go out there. And I know Freddie's going to fight it because he fights a day off and like a regular day off, so
Yeah.
he's probably going to fight it, but I think in long term he's going to think like, yeah, like I just want to preserve my body and I want to play the important games, and the important games for us are in September and October.
He prides himself on playing, and I feel like it's been, always he's come a long way since the days where he was crying at a presser over not having the Braves in his life anymore. Totally understandable. They meant a lot to him. But one thing that he did mention is like when he was on the stage is how much it means for him and for anyone to put on that uniform and what it means to represent the Dodgers. And it feels like he's just so proud. As many of the Dodgers were talking, I noticed they just seem so proud to be Dodgers. And I feel like it's not lost on kind of what this era of Dodger baseball means right now. But frankly, it's always been that way. The Dodgers are a very classy organization, and I just feel like they want to be here. One thing that I noticed is Kyle probably didn't see this on the broadcast, but Kyle Tucker and Edwin Diaz did record. They weren't there, but they recorded messages that were played during the stage show that people, if you were still in the stadium, that you got to see, and you can hear the pride in their voice that they are so excited to join us in the fall. So I just feel like this is the place to be. This is the team that, everyone knows you just don't go to just to win games. You feel like there's a culture around that. And a person that's big on culture is Miguel Rojas. I mean, he's the hero, the man of the last few months. Really, it hasn't really stopped um, with his championship tour. Everyone wants a piece of him. And he was really talking about just how proud he's been to kind of represent the Dodgers, to kind of have his moment. Freddie gave him his flowers because Miguel Rojas was an amazing person and pivotal piece of us winning another World Series. What kind of stood out to me, though, is he wasn't too happy with the current state of the WBC, which is a topic we like to talk about here on Bleed Lows. We're getting very excited for it. The last several days, there was a lot of news on what's going on with the insurance. Wire sent his, and this is straight from Miguel Rojas, he kind of felt that there was a little bit of bias towards the Latin American players in terms of being insured for the WBC. And I was really curious about your thoughts on that, because he looked at it, I think his quotes were that it's not right. I don't feel it's right, because he was denied, and this is based on age, and he could not play for his Team Venezuela. And so there's issues with the Puerto Rican team possibly being pulled out. Who knows what's going on? But there's it's kind of in a little bit of a limbo state right now. So whatever you can kind of contribute to that, because I'm sure you have thoughts.
Yeah, so I love how baseball has all this momentum, all this star power, and yet it finds a way to kind of shoot itself in the foot by doing stupid things like this. I use stupid just because I'm a fan of other sports, and like the World Cup is this year, and like the
Yeah.
thought that came to my mind was like Argentina defending World Cup champions. If they went up to Messi, if FIFA went up to Messi and said like, "Hey, you can't play because you're too old," the whole of Argentina would be at FIFA's headquarters rioting. How are you going to tell us that our best player cannot play in this tournament? So that's kind of the thought I had when I saw Francisco Lindor didn't get approved. I don't
Yeah.
know up to date right now if I know the roster deadline was today, so and they're going to release it in a few days if he's going to make it or not. So maybe we're breaking news in a few minutes here or so. But the first thought I thought was like, how are you going to have the best player for Puerto Rico not participate?
Exactly.
When he's allowed to play in spring training, he's allowed to practice with the Mets. He's allowed to go through basically everything. I think he's cleared on everything. So what
Mhm.
difference does it make if he's practicing with the Mets that he's actually playing real games here with Puerto Rico? It just didn't make sense to me. The Miguel Rojas thing, I think it's kind of an age thing, which sucks. I hate that it's kind of come down to like an age factor. And then he clarified himself too later on in a series of Instagram posts on his story that he didn't know if he was even going to make the final roster for the team anyway, but like he felt like he just wanted to have his name included. Just give me a chance to have my name included, and like don't just discriminate me based off my age, basically. There's kind of also this ties in back into Shohei, so he got the clearance to bat, and he said he's not going to pitch. I wonder if he they had told him like, hey, we're not going to clear you if you pitch, so you got to pick one or the other. So he kind of decided like, well, okay, I'll just bat then. So that's kind of the first thing that came to mind. But yeah,
Mhm.
all this goodwill and like baseball's popularity has kind of reached its peak, and like there's a chance for it to further explode with like if this tournament's successful and like how we think it is. Like there's a lot of rare, very good teams on in this tournament, a lot of very young, good talent as well too. And you're telling that young talent basically you can't play. Like you got to go play meaningless games in either Arizona or Florida, basically, where no one's gonna care whether you had two hits or not. But like if Team Puerto Rico is in the semifinals against Team Japan, I don't know how the bracket outlay is, so I'm just making up that scenario. And Lindor has a chance to win the tournament, and you have bases loaded and he hits a grand slam. You're telling me that moment's not going to be more meaningful than him getting a meaningless knock in the spring training game where no one's really going to care because we're like, okay, he got a hit. That's it, basically. So I don't know. Baseball has a way of just kind of killing itself and like ruining its own momentum.
Yeah, I agree. And the sad part is, I think he just, as far as the 37-year-old age, restriction, I think he just misses it by a few days. His birthday is actually
Yeah.
in February, which is another thing. And we also know it's his farewell tour. It's his last year. And if you watch the last WBC, and I'm sure many of the people that watch our podcast did, you saw the pride just representing the country. Yeah, we know it's not, America, we have, the World Series, but that is such, you could see the pride that Japan had when they won. And if America, the US Team USA had won, what they would have felt, any team, Puerto Rico, Venezuela, you just know that that is something that was so meaningful for all of them to just be a part of. So it kind of breaks my heart because you could tell he really wants to be a part of it. I don't think we've heard the end of it. I think there's going to be some, interesting nuggets coming out the next few days because they did probably see how negative the press was in terms of making those calls for the players, and it affects some of the players that we love to see besides Francisco Lindor. You're talking about a Carlos Correa. You're talking about an Altuve. Um, we do know that I guess Edwin Diaz is going to pitch, though. I think that did
Yeah.
get approved,
He got
right?
approved. He got promoted today by MLB that he will be joining Team Puerto Rico. Actually, the funny thing about the WBC, so last night I was rewatching. I hadn't rewatched the highlights of Mexico versus Japan in the semifinal game, and like it's such a weird like moment in time because Team Japan throws Sasaki out. Sasaki got that game, so he went kind of I think 4 or 5 innings, and the first guy out of that bullpen was Yamamoto. It's such a weird kind of like moment of time because all three guys kind of contributed in that win because Shohei had some really big at bats as well too. And I was kind
Mhm.
of sitting there, I'm like, wow, this is crazy because like if you would have told me at that time when my heart was broken that all three guys that kind of like led them to a victory would be on my favorite team, like a few years later, I look at you kind of crazy. It was kind of like a weird just juxtaposition where I was like, damn, I can't believe like all three of these guys
Yeah.
contributed in this game, and I can't believe all three of these guys wear the same uniform here in LA.
It is extraordinary what a difference these few years make. I don't think that I go too long without thinking of the day that Shohei posted that he's coming to the Dodgers and how incredible that was and what it led to since then for our franchise. But yeah, kind of sticking with Shohei for the moment because he did say that at Dodger Fest that he wasn't pitching, but he kind of made it sound like, okay, I'm gonna see how my body feels. It kind of had tones of, we'll see, still saying he wasn't pitching. But when Dave Roberts got on stage, he was like, Shohei's not pitching, it's his decision. It sounded more concrete. It kind of sounded a little bit of a cross signal. Some people picked up on that, but it made me wonder if conversations are being had behind the scenes about, just preserving the investment that is Shohei Ohtani. And really, obviously they want to let Shohei have the leash that he wants. And he obviously has a lot to say in his life, but we're talking about a man who pitches and hits and does what he does. And while he's a unicorn, he's still a human. So do you think that there is actual real concern behind the scenes about getting Shohei to have longevity and last?
Yeah, because I think at a certain point they're gonna through the length of his contract, I don't think he's gonna do both. I think towards the latter end, like the last maybe year or two, they're gonna
Right.
ask him like, "Hey, do you still want to do both, or do you just want to focus on one, whether it's pitching, whether it's hitting?" And I think he's gonna be more of a hitter towards the end of his career, just because of the two major surgeries that he's had in his elbow, and that's why kind of why I brought up earlier that maybe he just didn't get the clearance to pitch in the WBC, and he just didn't want to have the headache of like fighting it and all that. So he's like, "Well, I'll just focus on hitting this time around." So I don't know. I
Yeah.
think he knows as well too that he's kind of he's playing. I don't want to say more, but it's kind of like his legacy already is what it is. If he's able to repeat as a WBC champion, I mean, it kind of cements himself as probably the best baseball player ever at this point. It's just, the conversation you can have conversations about bonds and stuff like that, but I think this modern era, a lot of young guys, or like, because I always think of like little leagues and stuff like that, because I always go to the parks and stuff like that. I see like the conversations they're having is like Shohei. You show them a picture of a guy who played 10 years ago, they're not going to know who it is. And I know because I've seen TikToks of them being like, yeah, I don't know who this is. There was a viral TikTok. A guy showed a coach showed his team a picture of Brandon Phillips, and like they couldn't name him. They didn't know who he was. I'm like, this is insane. Like Brandon Phillips is a Hall of very good player. And like I grew up watching him play on the Cincinnati Reds. I saw the entirety of his career, and you can't tell me who that is. And like it's crazy to see like how many other like major leaguers as well too. They had a picture of Matt Kemp. No one knew who he was, stuff like that. So we're
Wow.
kind of like in the era where like of the highlight era. I hate to say highlight era, but like
Yeah.
they're not watching full games, but like highlights are being posted throughout, and those like little 30-second clips they see like on Instagram or on Twitter, are kind of like showing them like, wow, like this guy really is like the best player ever, basically.
I mean, I just can't think of. I know we didn't live in the era of Babe Ruth, but how can you not think that Shohei is like the greatest person to ever hold a bat and pitch and to do that at the same time? I don't know people who don't play baseball. I don't play baseball, but I've talked to enough people who do. It's like, how do you even do something that, you got to be like a child in like little league that you can possibly do both, but at this level to do what he does is superhuman. And it's just hard to wrap your head around. But one of our other Japanese superstars, while we're on the topic, Roki Sasaki. I guess he's going to be developing a third or even a fourth pitch, according to what we've been hearing recently from Andrew Friedman, from people in the know of kind of like where they want him to be in terms of coming up next season, to get him kind of more, not so much like in the bullpen because they don't see that as his role. His role is to be, a starting pitcher. But currently he has the four seam fastball and he's got the splitter,
Splitter.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
And so they're looking at, I believe, a cutter and a two seam, right? Because frankly, the league will figure you out. You have to make adjustments. You have to adapt. So will that be something you expect to see Roki as a starting pitcher this year? And do you think that those maybe he's kind of just going to use those two pitches, see which one kind of he develops, better, and or do you actually think that he'll go with the four pitch? What's your take on how we're going to see Roki play out this season?
So I think his spring training kind of might be all over the place, because I do think he's going to spend most of it kind of trying to figure out what third pitch he's going to throw. So
Yeah.
I probably would be based. I wouldn't take his results like if he gets beat up one inning, but like the command is there and like you can see him like he's trying to work in this pitch. I kind of take it as like, okay, cool. Like I see what he's trying to do. Like I'm not going to take all these runs against him and stuff like that. Now the issue where it comes, like he really does need to develop that third or fourth pitch. Shohei kind of joked, like he said he kind of had a knuckleball. I don't know if that was really him being serious or him just kind of joking. Uh, but yeah, because in this league you would be figured out, and if you're only a two pitch pitcher, and like let's say he doesn't have the splitter command on him, and I know all you have is your fastball, well, I'm just gonna sit fastball basically and just gonna take advantage of that.
Mhm.
I do think his days in the bullpen are over. The only way I see him in the bullpen is if through injury in like October, and it's kind of like, well, unfortunately, like you're not one of our top end like starting rotation arms. Like we kind of have our rotation set, but like we have like three guys in the bullpen who went down, and we have no replacements. Can you go back in there and kind of like just do a job basically? That's the only time I see it. But other than that, I do think he's going to be, and I kind of like that he's spending his time in spring training, kind of like working his way back, kind of trying to prove himself back on the big stage, even though he just did in the playoffs. He said it
Mhm.
himself, he was more nervous about the opener
Right.
than he was playing in the postseason, which is kind of crazy considering the opener is just it's just a game. You move on, and the postseason is more stress. Win or lose is kind of it makes up for the entirety of the series. If you win that game or you lose that game, so I thought it was kind of funny to see him say that the opener was the most pressure he had. But he was back in Japan, opening in front of the home crowd, and kind of like all that expectation and all that pressure. I could see from his point of view why he felt like that. And I also like that he said he kind of feels more comfortable now. He kind of understands how things are going to work. He understands his teammates better. And maybe last year he kind of was just like a deer in the headlights in the sense of like, I don't want to step on anyone's toes. I'm kind of trying to figure out who I am. New country. Yeah, I have two of my friends here, Shohei and Yoshi. But when the day's over, like they go home and I'm kind of by myself as well too. Don't know how to like adapt. Don't know what to do. And now he kind of feels like he's kind of like the underrated star of the Dodgers, just because I feel like everyone's thankful for what he did in the postseason, and like
Yeah,
everyone sees that he's such a very quiet, like well reserved guy. He doesn't really say a lot, but the little bits of his personality he does show, it can you can tell like there's a personality in there. We just kind of have to like bring it out of him because he's kind of shy and stuff like that. So I feel like as the season goes on and as the years go on, you'll see who the real like Roki Sasaki is. Like I think he's kind of very sneaky funny. Like he just doesn't have like he has that dry humor where like he'll probably say something in passing and like you'll like think about it and like wow, that was actually kind of like very funny. It's like that sneaky dry humor.
I love people like that. But yeah, we also have to remember like he's 24, I believe. He's young, and to come to a whole new country and to adapt. I mean, we saw how great Yamamoto was this past year, but his first year, as good as he was, and he was good, he was still adjusting. And so I feel like this is going to be a nice kind of now that Roki has gotten used to, okay, this is my team, these are my people. He's used to the way that the day in and day out, how everything works. I really think that we're going to see some great things from him, and he will be able to develop nicely during spring training. One other young guy that stood out to me was River Ryan. And we saw him a couple seasons ago. He does have a different look. He said he gained 30 pounds of muscle. And the way that when he came out on the stage and under the Spectrum canopy, talking to Oral and different guys, he was talking about how he feels like it helps him throw. Just it's easier for him to throw, and he's able to throw harder and more effectively. Oral, I believe, said kind of from his pitching, expertise, he called that as a way that it can aid something called ground force production, which is kind of essentially how he's able to then better place his footing on the mound and then be more effective with his pitches if he's developed properly with that extra weight. So, do we think that we're going to see just a nice resurgence of River Ryan because he's a top prospect that when he was coming
Yeah.
up, was amazing.
Uh he's one of the prospects I'm most excited. Well, he's not a prospect anymore because he's already hit the major league level, but it was such a short sample size that it kind of left you wanting more.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
it's kind of one of those things where like and I think the speculation was that there was a chance that he probably made the postseason roster last year, but they kind of like slow played it. And I'm glad they ended up slow
yeah.
playing him and kind of just saying like, no, like you're done for the season, basically. Just get ready for spring training. He's one of those guys where I feel like if you give him the ball, you'd be comfortable. But again, such a small sample size that I kind of want to see what it looks like now. I do think he's going to start his season in AAA, kind of just to get the reps up, get some more good feel for the stuff like that. But I do think there's going to be an opportunity for him to kind of come up to the big league level. Was we said at the start of every year the Dodgers have a ton of starting pitching, but then when you look up in June and July, you're like, why do we have a bullpen game in the middle of the week? Because there's injuries that tend to happen to our starting rotation. So I feel
Right.
like there's an area for him to kind of like work his way into the big league level. There's opportunities for guys like Robleski, opportunities for guys who Sheehan, a Gavin Stone as well too. Kind of like he was on that verge of kind of taking that next step of being like wow, he's gonna be the next Dodger ace, and unfortunately gets hurt. So that's why I'm excited for like spring training to be here because I kind of want to start getting the news is like oh Gavin Stone threw a 25 pitch bullpen today, looks solid, stuff like that. So I kind of want to start seeing clips of it and like start like hypotheticizing what like guys are going to look like and actually see what they look like firsthand.
I'm excited too. So, pitchers and catchers report next week.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And did you see the merch? While we're kind of on that topic, I think there was a hat that came out. What do you think of it?
Yeah, I'm not really a big spring training hat guy. I
Mhm.
got this one at the stadium though. This one's a cool one.
I like
Uh,
that. Good
I
one.
kind of overpaid for it. A little fun fact: I got a haircut that day. or the day before, kind of wanted to show off the haircut. Forgot that Dodger Stadium is a very like hot place. Was sitting in the sun for like 2 3 innings, and I can feel the sunburn like kind of getting to my neck. I'm like, let me just go spend a crazy amount on this hat. But I don't know. The spring training hats, I really don't see it outside of like people that are there in Arizona and like walking around. That's the only time I ever see it. Like I always see like the classic LA blue hat and like variations of it like this, stuff like that. So I don't know. I don't think I'll be buying the spring training hat. I thought it was a flower at first, and then someone said it was a cactus, and I'm like, yeah, that makes sense. Cactus League,
Yeah,
the Cactus League. The Dodgers play in the Cactus League. I think the Mets spring training hat looked pretty cool as well too. The one that Cody sent in the group chat, that one looks pretty cool. But I'm not a big spring training guy hat. I will be buying another probably golded Dodger hat. I'm kind of waiting on them to drop the golden jerseys and the golden hat and all the gold stuff. So that's probably when I'll buy another hat.
we're going to be seeing some stuff drop soon. We really did think that they were going to have the promotion calendar soon.
Here, I got a working theory on that. So we all know unheard or unwritten. We all think Kike Hernandez will be re-signing with us as soon as spring training opens. Uh, so maybe they're kind of just waiting for him to sign, and then they'll drop it because he's technically a free agent, and it's kind of a bad look if you're promoting bobbleheads for a free agent that's not really on your team. So that's kind of the working theory I have right now. My little tinfoil hat, like maybe they haven't dropped it because like Kike is like he's probably getting his own individual bobblehead, and he probably has like a dual one with like Andy Pajes or like a ring night like Hernandez ring stuff like that. So
That's
maybe they're like, we just got to hold off and wait until he's officially quote unquote a Dodger, and he's has ink to paper, and like the next day they'll drop like, oh, by the way, here's our Dodger promotions for the year.
That makes sense because they released it late January last year. I have people texting and calling me because we always plan that first week out, like kind of which ones we go to, and it kind of rotates. My birthday week, reminder again, Anthony. So I'll be there probably every day from late March to early April. But yeah, I'm excited for that because I do plan my year. I think you might too around which promotions are there.
Yeah, I do. So I went to a lot of games last year actually, but it was more. I like to travel, so I kind of had the San Francisco games highlighted. I had the San Diego ones, even though I wasn't able to get out to San Diego. This year, it's kind of like up in the air. I'm kind of like waiting to see. I don't know. I think it'll be more home games. There is a chance. New York, they go to New York to play the Yankees out there, but it's the same weekend as the World Cup final. And I think just in general, I do not want to pay like the crazy amount of like whatever like the hotel and the flight is. So I think I might just hold off on that. And I think the Mariners come down here as well too later in August or early August as well too. So I'm kind of just I'm waiting because I want to plan out my summer basically. It's that's kind of what's holding me back. I can't greenlight a lot of things if I'm just like hypothetically waiting on like certain like giveaways. I don't know what's gonna happen, stuff like that. So I do hope there is a bunch of ring nights for a bunch of other players and a bunch of gold jerseys. I wonder if they'll give out another replica World Series like mini trophy. I have one here at the house.
I have one right behind me. Yeah.
Probably not. I don't know if they'll double down on it or not this year, but I don't know. There's just like a lot of opportunities for guys, like moments to get bobbleheads and stuff like that. So I'm kind of just waiting, like everyone else, to like, all right, it's dropped. Start planning. Here. Start sending messages to all sorts of people. See if they're down to go as well too. I'm also I go to solo games with myself too. That like afternoon Sunday game. Even though
Hmm.
like in the middle of the summer is like insanely hot, it's like gets to the hundreds, but that's like a perfect like day game, kind of just like enjoy Los Angeles Sunday kind of feel.
I'm with you. Actually, I've gone to plenty of games. Several years back, I started going to just random games by myself, and my family thought I was like crazy. They're like, "What are you doing? You're a girl." Yeah, I'm not the only one. There are other girls just like me who just go in, and when you're in there, nobody knows who you're with or not. And I actually have friends and people I know. Sometimes I just randomly meet up with them, and but yeah, it was actually one of those hot days this past weekend. I mean, we're so spoiled here in Los Angeles. Around the country, it's not the case, but it was one of those. Just you could feel it. It felt like it's time for Dodger baseball, and that's just super exciting. You brought up the Mariners, and I wanted to kind of just ask you about that. You have family up in Seattle. They got Brendan Donovan this past week.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, the rich are getting richer in Seattle sports. Is your family just so on cloud nine with the Super Bowl coming this weekend?
Yeah, they're on cloud nine. I think maybe they'll start to get nervous around Thursday, kind of a few days before the game. But for right now, they're kind of in cloud line. I do actually like the Brendan Donovan pickup for them. I was kind of like, because I think a day before, Eugenio Suarez had re-signed with the Reds, and I was like, what the hell are they doing up there? Why aren't they re-signing this guy? And then
Yeah.
boom, sure enough, a day later, the Brendan Donovan news kind of picks up for them. And I feel like if it wasn't for George Springer's home run, and yeah, it's a massive home run, but like I said, I would rather die with my best on the mound, and Alejandro Munoz is their best closer in Seattle. And I kind of would have went down with the ship with them. They opted not to, kind of like fearful of like, oh, he's not used to pitching the 2 innings. Again, you're playing for the moment, you're playing for the win. You
Mhm.
go down with the ship, you go down with whatever your best arm, and he's their best arm. So I kind of feel like if they go with him, maybe it's a different scenario. Maybe he gets George Springer out, and we're looking at a Seattle versus a Dodgers World Series. But unfortunately, that's one of those kind of like learning lessons they had to go through last year, and maybe it's for the best for them. They're a very young team, so kind of like a heartbreaker like that kind of shows them like we're not gonna let that happen again. Like we've learned from that, so maybe it was for the best for them. I know at the moment it sucked for them. It probably didn't help that I was kind of sending them like a bunch of just like Dodger highlights of like the World Series and stuff like, oh look, Freeman homer stuff like that, kind of just egging it on. So I'm excited for them. Now for a young team, can they build on it as their future success? Because we see kind of one and dones. The Rockies once upon a time ago where they had Charlie Blackmon, they had Arenado, they made the playoffs, never made it back. Arizona Diamondbacks made the World Series, never made it back. So there's a bunch of different young teams and young avenues where they make it, they get to taste of success, and like whether it's for circumstances like trading away players or guys get hurt, they just never make it back to the mountaintop. So my
Mhm.
question for them is like, was that just like a little like peak, or are you guys going to be a sustained winner going forward?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it remains to be seen, but I'm liking that there are teams that are actually making moves to, be competitive. And I think that that is something that we're going to see with the Mariners this year. I think there's going to be some really good games. I mean, look at how they did last year. I don't think that their window is closed anytime soon to like make playoffs and to really be a challenger out there and a contender. So I'm excited for that. We also know that our old pal Austin Barnes, he's got signed to the Mets. So that's an interesting move because we love Austin Barnes and we wish him nothing but the best. One thing that stood out to me was Luis Arias of the Padres is now Giants. So he signed a 1 year deal. They already got, I believe it was Harrison Bader. So are we looking at the Giants to be kind of like, oh, the new Padres in terms of competitive? I know we kind of brought this up last week, I'm sorry, but that seems to be an interesting development.
Yeah, the reaction from Giants fans is actually very interesting because they hate the signing. Just because
Yeah, it is.
uh and I kind of tend to, I hate to agree with the Giants fans, but yeah, he's a one-tool player who's very bad defensively. And I don't get it because on that side of the diamond they have Devers and they have him, and they're both very bad defensively. And then you look on the other side, you have Willie Adames who's pretty solid, and you have what's his name at third base? Chapman, right?
Yeah.
Uh, yeah, yeah, and he's very, very good defensively. So I don't know if he's going to be ultimately the game changer for them. I think it's a very solid signing for the Giants. But I don't know. I think he was expecting the market to kind of be a bigger market for him, and he ended up signing that 1 year deal,
Mhm.
kind of a prove it deal. So we'll see what happens with them. But I do think the Giants are going to be the team that are going to give us a good run for our money. I don't think they'll end up winning the division, but I do hope every team in our division kind of like keeps us on our tail, or chasing our tail basically. Because I don't. The last thing I want is the Dodgers to kind of get lackluster and like sloppy play and stuff like that. And like I know all those years before where we won the division going away, I think it kind of shows that like it backfired on us because we'd go into a series in October, late September, and we get mollywopped and it just wasn't competitive. And guys would say like, well, we've been playing games like this for the better half of a month now, and like it's kind of hard to kind of just flip the switch. So hopefully the Giants do give us a good run for our money. I do think they're gonna be the second team. Them and the Padres are kind of gonna go back and forth at it. And I think one of them will end up making the playoffs as a wild card team.
I kind of want that. I think that the competitive division does keep us on our toes. And as far as Luis Arias, there's some with his defense, there's some, things that remain to be seen and desired. But I mean, it wasn't that long ago that he had the batting title and he, can bat. So we'll see what happens. And maybe he'll have, a resurgence of this year. But I actually think the Giants are going to be an interesting watch this year. I always like when the Padres are, not as competitive because I just don't like them. But I do see the benefit of it if they are. Another interesting piece, Scooble. I want to talk about him for a second. His arbitration hearing is tomorrow, and if I guess there's a really big gap on what Tarek Scooble is kind of like looking to be, what he's saying and his agent are saying he's worth versus what the Detroit Tigers are, desiring to pay him. And I don't know what the kind of the fallout will be from that, but I guess there's a 19 mil to 32 mil is a pretty big gap in terms of, who's going to pay how's it going to turn out. I just don't see it ending well. Do you have any predictions of how that could play out tomorrow?
Boy, oh boy, do I wish I was a fly in the room for that hearing. I've done jury duty before in the past. It's pretty boring. But I would love to sit in on that arbitration hearing between Tarek Skubal and the Detroit Tigers. I think, first of all, I think it's kind of crazy that he's solidified himself as like the top like starting pitcher. I know we have arguments between him, Schemes, Yamamoto, and Crochet. I kind of think those four guys are kind of the upper echelon of starting pitching. But Skubal, to me, he's the reason why the Tigers are where they are right now. He's kind of solidified himself as the top dog for them. He damn near won them the series last year against Seattle. I know it went to extra innings, but he made two bad pitches, ended up giving up 2 runs in that game. I just don't see why. Like, if I see that he's won Cy Youngs, he's carried this team, he's carried the load, and I value him at 19 million. I don't. I think that's kind of like a slap in the face to him. I do think this partnership is coming to an end. I think he's going to get traded at the deadline. Uh, I think the Detroit ownership should probably be ashamed of themselves because, again, the Tigers are a pretty solid team. I feel like if you just add a few more pieces around them, you kind of support them, they could make a run to the World Series potentially.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember last year, we opened up against them and they gave us a pretty tough fight throughout the 3 games. Like, it was kind of one of those things where I had people who were like, "Hey, like, why are the Dodgers struggling against the Tigers?" Like, no, 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 no. The Tigers are a very good team. Like, I know they haven't been good for like previous years, but like this team is very, very good. At the time, it was like the 1-2 of Scooble and Flaherty. I'm like, don't underestimate them. Like, they're a very solid team. Like, they can do it all basically. Unfortunately, they came up short in October, but I don't know if I was the owner of the Tigers, I'd kind of be what I know he's probably asking for like a crazy number long term wise. I don't know what that number hypothetically would be. I don't even want to begin to guess with the contracts that were given out this past winter where that number would even start. But if I'm looking at it, I'm like he's kind of like the only thing I have going for me, and like I should probably just if I go down with the ship again, I'm gonna go down with him because he's the best thing that we got going here, and it's gonna take forever for me to find someone that's gonna replace him. If I trade him in at the deadline, yeah, I'm getting prospects, but prospects are always prospects until they reach the major league level. And
Mm-hmm.
let's say like I trade him for I don't know, hypothetically 6 prospects, and like 5 of them flame out, and I'm only left with one. That's a very bad thing. Like, what are you gonna tell your fan base? Like, well, we did trade him. We got 6 prospects, but like only this one middle reliever or like mid infielder like ended up panning out. Like, I would crash out if I was a Detroit fan, and like I don't know. These owners, they'll find a way to blame the Dodgers, like, oh, they overpay these guys, but we don't overpay them. We just value them. We know their value. Like, we value them more than you do. So if you don't value them, and like I go up to them and I'm like, hey, like, how about I don't know, 10 years for 70 million, something like that, something ridiculous like that. He's gonna say yeah. He's gonna say yeah, just because like he sees the culture that's been built. He sees the guys that's come before him. He's seen the guys that we've developed. I know the other theory going on is like, oh, the Dodgers don't develop young players, and like there's no perfect example of like the potential Hall of Famer that we have behind the backstop in Will Smith. He's going to end up being our longest tenured Dodger behind
Mhm.
Muncy once Muncy is kind of said and done. I think he's the next guy in line, and there's no other better example of like Mr. Quiet himself. Will Smith kind of just goes about his business, and he hits like the biggest home runs possible in October and all of September, basically. So I don't know. A lot of these owners are going to learn the hard way that they can't just keep blaming the Dodgers for their mishaps. Like it's going around
Right.
through the league. Like you don't think the players talk? You don't think like no better example of like Alexis Diaz and Edwin Diaz having conversations about like, hey, like the Mets don't really like covet me at this number, and like Alexis like, go talk to the Dodgers, go talk to the Dodgers front office, and Edwin's like, okay, I'll go talk, and like hey, like here's my agent, and like this is the number we want, and the Dodgers are like, sure, and then it
And
catches you
that's
off
it.
guard like that is that I don't know what to say, like I'm ready to negotiate, and you're like, I present you with the number and you're like, yeah, that's fine. You don't think that's going to keep happening with other players, not necessarily Scuba or like, I don't know, for example, down the line, like a Paul Skeens, like if we go up to, if he comes up to us like in the negotiations like, hey, like I value myself at this, and like our management says yeah, sure,
Right.
a player's going to be like, well, okay, awesome, like let me sign basically. So I mean those conversations are already happening behind the scenes, so these owners are just going to, they're going to try to lock out the season or next season, be like, oh well, like it's unfair advantage, but they're doing it to themselves.
They are doing it to themselves. And it's really ownership malpractice. And I think more and more people are waking up to that. At least I hope they are. And kind of when they get out of the bias of, this is, my team and, I'm going to be a fan. But they're starting, if you look on social media, there's people saying, why are owners like, not doing what the Dodgers are doing? So I have to definitely give a shout out to, I think there was an interview this past week on the Dan Patrick show, Giant CEO, I think his name was Larry Bauer. He said something interesting because the topic came up of, of every baseball show. Dodgers are winning baseball. What do you think about it? And he said that what the Dodgers are doing, kind of gave him credit, saying that it's actually a good thing what the Dodgers are doing because having a dragon to slay isn't necessarily a bad thing for the sport, is what he said. And he did give credit where credit is due. And I like that. And you saw, they are making some moves as best they can to kind of say, they also tried to go for Aaron Judge. They tried to go for Shohei Ohtani. He said that, the deals were essentially similar to what they got, with the Yankees and the Dodgers, but at least they're trying to make their team more competitive. So if you're a Giants fan, they're making moves to make it happen. Maybe they're not at the caliber of the Dodgers, but it doesn't mean they're not trying. And when you compare that to what some of the other owners are doing, that is, if I was a fan of those teams, I'd be very disappointed. And we're just so lucky on our side to have Mark Walter, who gets the numbers and says, yes, reinvest in this team. And that's why you want to see the players come to us. But yeah, let's kind of just travel a little bit down the road. We did get some interesting news about Tommy Edman. He said at Dodger Fest he was out of his, he is out of his boot. And they're looking at him, even though he possibly left the door open for being ready by opening day. Him and both even Blake Snell might have a slow like ramp up and kind of like get them, into ready mode, but it may not be right at the beginning. And I think that's a smart move. I would rather have them wrapped or put into a cryogenic chamber if it meant, getting them fully healthy, because we really don't need them in March and April and May. We need them in October. Your thoughts?
Yeah, at first I got that notification of Blake Snell, and I guess just the way it was worded, I thought, oh, he's hurt. But
Yeah.
then I did some more reading at first. And I'm like, oh, actually, he's just kind of, they're just slow playing it. So initial panic levels were through the roof. And then when I actually read the quote and stuff like that, and I saw him say it, I'm like, okay, then yeah, they're slow playing it. So again, this is a smart play. They played deep into no, they played into November basically. So and there's no need to kind of like rush them. Again, we talked about the younger arms that I kind of want to see get some run in spring training to see what they have. I know Blake Snell. I do want him to be pitching in spring training, but not necessarily at the very first game of spring training kind of deal. Kind of just like reintroduce him, like maybe after the first week, maybe halfway through it, and kind of like build him up, build him up, build him up to where he's like he's ready to go hypothetically for an opening day start. The same with Tommy Edman. I kind of don't want to see him play in those early games in spring training. I do kind of want to introduce him maybe like halfway through spring training, kind of give him a nice little run up, if the ankle is fine and stuff like that. Again, the question for us, whether we three-peat or not, is like how durable are these guys going to be? Are they going to be durable throughout the season? Are they going to be dealing with little nag tag injuries here and there? And baseball is a long sport, and these guys will be beat up from the start of the season to the very end of the season, hopefully at the end of the World Series. But my biggest question is durability going forward.
And we have the depth to make it through and still win our division, even if, our top talent isn't playing every single game of the season, say Freddie Freeman, who will want to play, but I even think they're going to be very smart with how they play our pitchers, with how they play, our lineup, because we really need to think about the second half of the season and making sure that they're ready and that we don't lose the key talent for, the playoff run. But that is something that I did kind of hear, I think it was Jim Bowden, he said on Foul Territory this week, he said that the Dodgers are going to do this all season. They know the formula. They know that, I think he said they'll yawn, they'll win 100 games, they'll slow play their players. They have the depth to do it. And then they'll catch you in October. I think that's kind of what he said, because they know that they do not have to play, full on, full out every Hall of Famer, every MVP, every game of the season. So would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think right out the gate, that series in Toronto to start the season might be the early indicator of how serious they want to go out the gate. I know the tensions and emotions will probably be high. I know the Canadian crowd would probably be raucous and making all sorts of noise. But if the Dodgers just treat it as a regular season game and don't buy into the emotion, don't start brawls, don't start chirping back and forth, stuff like that, and they kind of just treat it as like, well, it's just a regular game in April. That kind of indicates like, okay, like they're slow playing it. I guess the guys who pitch in that series as well too. If it's like an Emmett Sheehan getting a start, or like even like just our normal three horses aren't going in that series, like it's just the back end of the rotation kind of going deal, then it's kind of like, okay, then yeah, they're slow playing it. I want to have these guys firing all cylinders for that gauntlet that we talked about, where it's like you go to New York, you go to Philadelphia, you play the Mets, you come back home. I believe you have Seattle, all sorts of other like quote unquote playoff teams, potential World Series matchups. That's kind of when I want. Okay, no more like messing around. Like we need these guys like firing on all cylinders, basically. So my tidbit for Dodger fans everywhere. There might be some ugly games to start the year. There might be some very bad, like why this lineup? Why this kind of like lineup? Why is this guy pitching? Why is this guy resting? Stuff like that. But I think as the All Star break comes around and we get into that stretch of like, okay, these are like very like. There's a chance we might play these guys in October, or maybe even in the World Series potentially. Like that's when you'll see what the Dodger lineup will look like, barring any injuries.
Yeah, so don't crash out. We are going to lose 60 games at some point in some fashion, more than likely, and it's going to be okay. We're still going to likely, knock on wood, win our division. We're going to go to the playoffs and have the top our top talent healthy for the run. But yeah, as we get ready to close out, there is some interesting news about our boy Kershaw. It looks like retirement might not be completely happening in his world. I guess he's going to be finalizing, or he is finalizing a deal with NBC to be a part of their Peacock NBC Sunday Night baseball package situation with Joey Votto and Anthony Rizzo. So it looks like we're going to be hearing him on the mic, being able to call games, or to kind of, I think, it's actually before and after games, right? Pre-show and post-show is what
Yeah.
I'm thinking. So yeah, are we kind of excited to see 22 still part of our lives for baseball season?
I am excited. I think it being for Sunday night games. I think that might have been the selling factor. He only has to be probably in studio maybe once for prep and then for the actual show. So he's not really too much spending much time away from his family. So I'm guessing that's why the Dodger deal that he had to like kind of like be out in LA wasn't that enticing this early on. Maybe as the years go on and his kids kind of get older and stuff like that, he's kind of looks back at the LA offer and is like, well, I've had a taste of it here. Sunday night baseball. I kind of want to go back to the home market and do that kind of deal. So I'm excited. I mean, I always when I looked at his like in-game interviews were kind of awesome too as well too. Spectrum kind of does a good job of him like getting the mic and kind of just like, all right, like him and Oro and him and what's his name, Joe, yeah, it just slipped my mind. Yeah, they have like this way of just having conversation. It doesn't feel like it's an interview. Like there just feels like three guys kind of just talking ball basically, and he kind of has that voice for it. He kind of has that act for it. So I'm kind of excited to see him like break down some of the young arms in this game. Like I mentioned, the four guys that I think are the higher up end guys in rotation. So I'm kind of hoping those guys get the Sunday night game so we can see him break down like what a Scooble start looks like, what a Crochet start looks like, what a Paul Skeen start looks like. It'd be interesting to kind of see him break down the Dodgers as well too, because he's played with these guys and he knows them as well. So he knows like the ins and outs, like how they go about their work and stuff like that. Hopefully he doesn't give people too much information. He kind of just keeps it as vague as possible. So, but I am excited to see him like kind of break down pitching.
I like it. And so we're not quite done with 22 yet. Kershaw's going to be obviously around for the ring ceremony. He'll be around for obviously, Sunday night baseball. And I have a feeling they'll probably do some kind of honoring, maybe some kind of promotion. Kershaw's going to be a part of our franchise and our honorings in some way for the years to come. So I'm very excited for that. But yeah, just to kind of close it out, according to Fangraphs, Dodgers World Series odds as of right now, 28.4%. So we're still in very good shape for the season. And the next one down, interesting one, is the Braves at 10.2. The next size up. I was kind of surprised at that one. But yeah, Mets, Mariners, and Yankees are looking like they're also going to be strong. But we're going to get ready for baseball. This month, we start to see the games as far as spring training. And we're going to get obviously more and more news about how our roster is going to shake out. And I do think Kike will be part of that in the coming weeks. So very exciting. So take us through your final thoughts as we get ready to close the show.
Final thoughts? Yeah, I'm happy. I got to watch baseball this week. The Caribbean series is kind of a like little teaser to it. Final thoughts. This is where I give my bold prediction, my Super Bowl winner. I do think the Seattle Seahawks will win the Super Bowl. I even go as further and say Super Bowl MVP will be JSN, Jackson Smith and Jibba. I think he's going to be Super Bowl MVP. And last thought, I think Bad Bunny's going to kill the halftime show. So I'm excited for it.
Man, I mean, just the hype online for the Bad Bunny halftime show. I think it's going to break records. So I'm very excited for that. Very excited to see, Seahawks, pummel the Patriots.
Yeah.
I
Are you a
actually,
big like Super Bowl party person, or you got watch with like family? Because I only watch with family, and like my team hasn't played in one, so I really haven't had the chance of like I'm gonna invite it. But I don't think I would be the person to invite a ton of people. I think the stress, which is be eating me alive. I couldn't imagine what you were feeling when the Rams were playing in the Super Bowl a few years back against the Bengals. I don't think I would want a ton of people like talking about commercials or movie trailers and stuff like that while my team is losing in the Super Bowl. I think I just kind of need to be around people I trust.
I don't think people would like me very much if they saw what I'm like when I watch games, because I actually am a very kind person, but a whole different side of me comes out when my teams are playing. The stress is tough. Yeah, there is one side of my family is getting together for a Super Bowl. But here at my house, it's going to be a few of us just watching the Super Bowl. Together. I think that's kind of where it's going to be. But yeah, I have had parties in the past, but I kind of like to kind of lock in. I'm not one of those people that's all about the commercials. I know the commercials are a big thing. I'm one of those people that's like, I'm locked into the game and I don't want people to bother me while I'm locked into the game. So I'm not a passive watcher, but I'm a very emotional watcher. So I don't know if that's you, but I definitely don't like
I
to be.
am for the Dodgers. Just the game that comes to mind is game one of the World Series in 24. I don't think I said anything for 2 hours. That's how stressful that game was, and we ended up winning it. So I think for football, it depends on the matchup. Like last year's game was such a dud; it was like over before halftime that I just started focusing on commercials and stuff like that, and then talking about other stuff. But yeah, I think this game is going to be good. I think we'll have a lot to talk about. Hopefully, about baseball and football on next show.
I'm excited because the end of the Super Bowl is officially like it's time for Dodger baseball season,
Yeah.
and it's going to be exciting. So yeah, definitely check out our show next week. I'm sure we'll have promotions or in the next one or two episodes, which I'm very excited to talk about. Check out Talking Blue with Cody and Vince on Thursday nights live. Also, again, thank you for the 25,000 plus subscribers. We are so grateful here at the Bleed Lows podcast, and speaking on behalf of Anthony, all the team, and producer Roger, we couldn't be more grateful. So if you haven't liked and subscribed already, please do that. We are going to make a new goal to get get to what, 30, 50, Anthony? That's going to be
Hopefully 30, 50. Yeah. The possibilities are endless.
endless. So thank you for being a part of that. We'd love to just talk baseball every single week. But yeah, check out our handles. You can find me, Drea, on Instagram and X at Ravine Queen 1958. You can find Anthony on Instagram and X at Anthony Acosta _. And until the next big thing happens, let's go Dodgers.